Species Protection Act. I'm Judy Mancuso, the president and founder of Social Compassion in Legislation. We are the sponsor of the bill, and we are so honored that Senator Henry Stern has taken this bill on and it changing history. So we've had big problems with the federal government changing the rules, and California is stepping up and changing some back. So with that, we have several speakers. We have Nick Sackett, our Ledge Director with Social Compassion and Legislation. We have Brendan Cummings with Center for Biological Diversity, and we have Katie Cleary with World Animal News, and we have Senator Henry Stern. I'd like to introduce Senator Henry Stern. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Judy, and to this remarkable coalition we've put together here, who is saying very firmly to the people of California, to the people all over the United States, and to the whole world, that there are other ways to show your prowess and your toughness than going out and slaughtering the last of our most endangered species on this planet. Trophy hunting for these iconic endangered African species is not only brutal, but it is anachronistic, some false show of masculinity that people want to go out there and act tough by slaughtering lions, rhinos, giraffes. This has to end. So while Washington tries to figure out where their moral compass is headed, we're putting our flag down here in California today saying we know where we stand. We stand with the species of this planet, and that the ultimate test of a civilization's morality is how they treat those who can't protect themselves. Lions don't have lobbyists. But here today, the people of California are standing and getting their back. So thank you all, and we hope we can get this through committee here today, keep this moving off the Senate floor, and hopefully proceed on to the Assembly. But we got a long ways to go, so we need people's help all throughout the state of California to call in and call your members and let them know that you stand with these iconic endangered species and that trophy hunting for these incredible animals has long outlived its life.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Sackett, Social Compassion and Legislation. I'd like to thank Senator Stern for his authoring of this bill. California is not powerless to help save these animals. State legislation is an underappreciated conservation tool. A great example of this is California Penal Code's 6530, which banned commercial activity in python skins despite being legal under federal law at the time. Due to high demand for their skins, pythons in their native environments were almost extinct. But thanks to California's 6530, public awareness rose, demand decreased, and California's law became the speed bump that helped stave off extinction. In fact, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service special agents stationed in California have cited 6530 as one of the most useful tools in combating illegal wildlife trafficking. SB 1487 can be a tool and a speed bump that helps slow and hopefully reverse the decline we are seeing in these iconic African species. On another matter, while it is clear that conservation of all of our planet's species is a bipartisan issue, I'd be remiss not to mention that current Secretary of the Interior, Ryan Zinke, has convened an advisory board called the International Wildlife Conservation Council. The council is made up of appointees that include celebrity hunting guides, representatives from rifle and bow manufacturers, and wealthy trophy hunters, whose stated mission is, and I quote, to increase public awareness domestically regarding economic benefits that result from United States citizens traveling to foreign nations to engage in hunting. The problem, of course, is that there is no evidence of such benefits going to the local communities that must coexist and protect these animals, but rather to a select few trophy hunting operators. In fact, less than 1% of all tourist dollars come from hunters. We should be convening a council on the economic benefits of phototourism. For example, Botswana has put a moratorium on trophy hunting when it found that 1.5 billion of its revenue came from phototourism versus only 20 million from trophy hunters. With this new approach to conservation, Botswana is now one of the few places in Africa where wildlife populations are stabilized. Today, these are my statements for tonight. With that, I will introduce Brendan Cummings from CBD.
Good afternoon, I'm Brendan Cummings with the Center for Biological Diversity. We're a science-based conservation organization dedicated to protecting endangered species in California and all around the world. And it's obvious that there are ethical reasons to oppose trophy hunting, as you've heard from Senator Stern. But over the past decade, the science has increasingly shown that trophy hunting, which is promoted as somehow a conservation benefit to these species, in fact, does provide little benefit whatsoever. The United States is the largest importer of wildlife trophies in the world, with hundreds of elephants and thousands of lions killed and imported over the past decade, and many of these come into California. Throughout Africa, the purported economic benefits of trophy hunting is regularly overstated and rarely demonstrated. For example, studies suggest that as little as 3% of trophy hunting revenues are actually shared with the local communities in the area where the hunting occurs. The economic benefits from wildlife watching exceed this by orders of magnitude, as you just heard. But it results not just in the needless death of individual animals, but it's a real contributor to declines of these species. And lions, I think, are the most compelling example, as the species has declined by over 40% in the past 2 decades. And trophy hunting has been identified as a major factor in the decline. In this same time period, over 20,000 African lion parts were traded, and these represent over 7,000 individual lions that were killed. The U.S. imported half of these, primarily in the form of trophies. This decline resulted in the African lion being listed as a threatened species under the Federal Endangered Species Act in 2015. However, notwithstanding the Endangered Species Act's requirement that killing of listed species contribute to their conservation, in late 2017, the Trump administration began authorizing the importation of lion trophies from Zimbabwe and other countries, even though it is clear that corruption and mismanagement render any conservation benefit from hunting illusory at best. So in the absence of a rational federal management under the Trump administration, action by the state is clearly needed. And because of the large role of U.S. trophy hunters generally, and the role of California trophy hunters specifically, in the unsustainable killing of African wildlife, SB 1487, it's not just a symbolic bill, but one that would ultimately have real impact on the ground, while ensuring that Californians are no longer complicit in driving the extinction of some of the world's most iconic and imperiled species. So thank you.
Hello, I would just love to say thank you to everyone for being here and everyone who's now watching World Animal News. Thank you, Senator Henry Stern and Social Compassion Legislation for sponsoring this bill. We just got back from Africa, Kenya and South Africa, filming our second documentary, We Are One. And we have firsthand experience witnessing the 2 last female northern white rhinos left on the planet. I can tell you, when I met these 2 last females, it was an honor, but it was heartbreaking at the same time, because without Sudan, who just passed away last month, the last northern male white rhino, this species is facing extinction. And we were literally looking extinction in the eye, and knowing that these animals had been on Earth for millions of years, and now, in 2018, we could be witnessing the extinction of this iconic species in Africa. It's not only the African rhino, white and black. It is lions, as Center for Biological Diversity has stated. It's also cheetahs. It is elephants. All of these species, the big 5 in Africa, are facing extinction in the next 5 years. We are at a serious crossroads. So we were able to get the support of Jane Goodall, and they would like us to read the statement from Jane and her team. Jane is the UN Messenger of Peace and also the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute. Jane says, trophy hunting benefits no one. Study after study reveals that the purported economic benefits to communities, promised job creation, and alleged conservation benefits from trophy hunting never materialize. At the same time, trophy hunting targets some of the most endangered species in Africa, Elephants, lions, leopards, rhinos, zebras, hippos, giraffes, and striped hyenas experience alarming declines in population. At the same time, they remain among the most popular targets for trophy hunters. We have 2 billboards up, one in Chicago and one in Los Angeles by LAX, saying trophy hunters put the con in conservation, and that is exactly what they do. There's no economic benefits to trophy hunting. The economic benefits are in ecotourism and green tourism, and we support this bill 100%, and we ask for your support to save these animals before they go extinct in our lifetime. Thank you so much.
Hey, I want to add one more thing, since it is our bill here. I think the choice is pretty simple. Where do you think these animals belong? Is it out in the wild, or is it above your mantle? I think makes it very simple, the choice. There's actually more money for African nations and for conservation with these incredible iconic species in the wild. You may feel again like a tough guy with this white rhino's head mounted on your mantle, but in fact, you're extincting a species. I think the choice is clear, and I urge action today. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our press conference. We will take any questions from the press or anyone in the audience, and we appreciate everyone's support across the state of California that have sent their support letters in, and we appreciate everyone's vote on this, and we hope to gain co-authors with Senator Stern. So thank you all very, very much. Yes, there's a question from the back.
How many total species are included in the bill?
Is it 12 or 13? Oh, 11.
Would California be the first state to enact an act like this? And how important is that?
So, yes, we would be. New Jersey passed a law, but they overstepped the bounds on some federal issues and decided not to enforce that law, which we actually were disappointed in, but we've tailored SB 1487 to be in line with federal laws.
No preemption issues.
And how many trophy hunters, as far as coming from California? Do we know that number? What a percentage of trophy
How many
hunters?
trophies coming in, or how many hunters?
Yeah.
Hunters, yeah,
So-
as opposed to the other states. Are we the most? Are we sending the most trophy hunters over there? Or?
Well, I can tell you that California has a good amount of trophy hunters. We just did an undercover investigation at Safari Club International, which is obviously not an undercover investigation anymore, but there was 25,000, upwards of 25,000 trophy hunters just at the Safari Club International Convention in Las Vegas. Many of those coming from California, but also various states throughout the U.S. So there's a high concentration, but I think the majority lies within the Midwest and the East Coast. But regardless of that, I mean, we're setting the precedent for other states to follow suit. So if we pass this bill, then it's easy to copy over to other states like New York, Chicago, and so forth. So, and Texas especially, because Texas has, I think, the highest concentration of trophy hunters. So.
Well, you mentioned the white rhino. Is there any way, there's 2 females left and no males, does that mean that's the end?
So they took the DNA from Sudan, the last northern male white rhino, and they took an egg from one of the females, and they're trying to impregnate a surrogate southern white rhino. Southern white rhino female that has actually become friends with the 2 last females. So there's 3. There's the southern white female, that's going to be the surrogate. And hopefully, they've never done it on a rhino, but I'm hoping that through in vitro that it will work, because there won't be any hope. The last 2 females that we met are the last of their species because of poaching primarily, but also I think trophy hunting is a big contributor to that as well.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. We'll conclude the press conference. Thank you.